It's currently 9:55 p.m. Here's where I am currently on the third Anka polystyrene drawing project. This over here is where today's work was focused. I used these Sharpie markers, these, and the ultra fine end of these two dual tips for what I did pretty much since I got back to my mom's place while in the back right passenger seat, as my mom was in the front passenger seat and my dad was driving the three of us back to my mom's place from Baltimore. We traveled from the state of Maryland through Pennsylvania to New York. It was around noon when we left the hotel we were staying at. On the third floor of a Days Inn. The four of us were in room 315. My sister stayed behind to go to a concert, while the rest of us drove roughly 6 hours or so back to my mom's place. Throughout that drive, I was mostly on my phone with my current pair of wired headphones plugged in to the jack on the bottom short side, listening to YouTube and looking into things relevant to me currently, though occasionally I looked out the window nearest to me and made a bit of conversation with my parents about halfway into the drive. We made a stop so my dad could get some gas for my mom's car. I recall we weren't critically low on gas at the time, but it wouldn't hurt to refill the tank. About half an hour after that, we made another stop at a McDonald's. So my dad could get 6 cheeseburgers. 3 for me and 3 for my dad. It was around 3 p.m. at the time. And I recall it took a handful of minutes for the cheeseburgers to be prepared. I had 2 of my cheeseburgers pretty much as soon as me and my dad got back in the car. And then I had my last one about 2 hours later, after my dad suggested that I could have it then. I recall around 4 p.m. I brought it up by asking if Dad was going to have his last cheeseburger. And we both decided to save our last one for later. We both had 2 of ours pretty much right away. Those McDonald's cheeseburgers were delicious. At one point, I recall being around 1 p.m., I had a Premier Protein branded vanilla protein shake. That we had packed. For this road trip / immediate family vacation. It's currently 10:36 p.m. and I plan on being asleep by midnight. I fell asleep today somewhere between 1 and 1:30 in the morning. First naturally woke up around 5:30 in the morning before falling back asleep within a handful of minutes. Then I naturally woke up again around 6:30 in the morning before falling back asleep again within a handful of minutes. And then I naturally woke up for the last time today around 8 in the morning. And then I got up for today about 15 minutes later. This was all in our hotel room. The four of us were in 2 different beds. And I was in the bed closer to the air conditioner for the room. Right before I went to bed today, I had turned it down to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. As a cooler temperature makes it easier to sleep. The first thing I recall doing today was finishing a large glass Goch beer the size with that fancy cap. That you open by moving a thin metal coil. To pop open. I recall the four of us were all up by 8:45 in the morning, and around 9 in the morning, me and my dad walked for 1 or 2 minutes to a nearby Starbucks. To get breakfast for ourselves. My dad got 2 double smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwiches, one for each of us, And I had a venti tropical citrus, basically charged lemonade, which contained 209 milligrams of caffeine. And that was why I didn't have a Celsius energy drink today. Because I had that instead. And it wouldn't be a good idea to have that too. Especially since I'm trying to push my bedtime earlier these days. And my dad had a venti caramel macchiato extra hot. I recall it took roughly 15 minutes for our order to come out. So we were inside the Starbucks waiting at the time. I don't recall it being packed, but there were still a considerable amount of people there. Me and my dad had what we got for ourselves from that Starbucks upon getting back to our hotel room. Which from the time we got up to around noon when we left, for the most part, I was on my current primary laptop, sitting at a desk near the air conditioner, which was at the far end of the hotel room, which I recall being medium-sized. For the most part, we watched TV, made bits of conversation with each other, and sat on the beds. Here's where I am currently on the task sets for the current episodic event on Elvenar. It's currently 11:25 p.m. Probably by the time I get up tomorrow, I'll probably have a little less than 8 days to complete the rest. Hopefully I'll be able to do that in that time.